Tucked away on the outskirts of a quiet town, hidden behind overgrown weeds and crumbling brick walls, stands an orphanage that time and people seem to have forgotten. Known simply as St. Agnes Orphanage, it opened its doors in the late 1800s and for nearly a century housed hundreds of children. Today, it sits in eerie silence, a skeleton of its former self. Broken windows, rusted gates, and peeling paint tell the story of neglect. Yet whispers persist among locals that the spirits of the children who once lived there have never truly left. While the tales are chilling, the history of St. Agnes is just as compelling. A mix of human tragedy, societal neglect, and unremembered lives that deserve to be known. St. Agnes Orphanage was founded in 1887 by a religious order determined to care for children orphaned by disease, poverty, and industrial accidents, which were tragically common in that era. Industrialization brought both opportunity and suffering. Child labor was widespread, and diseases such as tuberculosis and cholera claimed thousands of young lives each year. St. Agnes became a refuge for children who would otherwise have been left to fend for themselves on the streets. Its founders envisioned it as a place of safety and education, a beacon of hope for society's most vulnerable. Yet as time went on, funding shortages, overcrowding, and inconsistent oversight would transform the building from a haven into a place of quiet suffering. During the early 20th century, the orphanage housed as many as 200 children at a time, many of them from impoverished families who had lost parents to illness or accidents. Records show that living conditions were harsh by today's standards. Dormitories were crowded, with as many as 10 to 12 children sharing a single room. Meals were sparse and repetitive, often consisting of bread, thin soup, and occasionally a small portion of vegetables. Education was minimal. Many children spent most of their days performing chores, maintaining the building, or working in the surrounding gardens to help sustain the orphanage. While the nuns and staff genuinely sought to care for the children, resources were limited, and oversight from government and social services was minimal. Tragedy was common. Medical records indicate frequent outbreaks of measles, scarlet fever, and influenza, which claimed the lives of dozens of children over the decades. Infant mortality was particularly high, with babies often living only a few months before succumbing to disease. Documentation from the era reveals that these deaths were sometimes recorded with little ceremony, a reflection of the grim reality of institutional care at the time. Despite this, the children who survived formed tight bonds, creating makeshift families within the orphanage walls and finding solace in shared hardship, play, and imagination. It was during this period that local legends about St. Agnes began to emerge. Staff and visitors reported unusual sounds, footsteps echoing through empty hallways, faint laughter in the dead of night, and small objects moving without explanation. Some said they saw fleeting shadows at the end of corridors, or felt the sensation of being watched. While some dismissed these accounts as the result of stress, imagination, or the natural settling of an old building, others believed that the orphanage itself had absorbed the energy of the countless children who had lived and died within its walls. The stories became more persistent after the orphanage closed in 1975, following decades of declining enrollment and growing concerns over the building's safety. After the closure, St. Agnes was left to the elements. Windows shattered, roof tiles fell, and ivy crept along every wall. Yet the phenomena continued. Paranormal investigators who visited the site decades later documented cold spots in the corners of rooms, unexplained voices caught on recording devices, and shadowy figures glimpsed in photographs. One of the most repeated reports involved the music room, where an old piano still sat, its keys sometimes moving as if played by invisible hands. Researchers were careful to separate anecdotal accounts from evidence, but the sheer consistency of reports from multiple independent visitors has made St. Agnes a focus of interest for both historians and paranormal enthusiasts. Beyond the supernatural, The orphanage's story raises important questions about societal responsibility. Many children at St. Agnes grew up with trauma loss, neglect, and exposure to disease that left lasting impacts on their mental and physical well-being. Records indicate that some former residents struggled with poverty, mental health challenges, and social stigma after leaving the institution. Yet for others, St. Agnes was a source of resilience, teaching resourcefulness, empathy, and the ability to form deep bonds in the face of adversity. The orphanage, in essence, reflects the complexities of institutional care, a place of safety and suffering, of childhood and tragedy, all intertwined. Local historians have worked to preserve the memory of St. Agnes. Old photographs, letters, and administrative records provide a glimpse into daily life at the orphanage. These documents reveal both heartwarming moments, children celebrating birthdays, learning to read, planting gardens, and heartbreaking realities such as epidemics, strict discipline, and inadequate nutrition. They remind us that every ghost story, every unexplained sound has roots in real human experience. The spirits that some claim still roam the halls may, in fact, be echoes of laughter, tears, and lives that were lived under extraordinary circumstances. One particularly poignant account involves a former resident named Margaret, who returned to St. Agnes in the early 2000s. She reported walking through the abandoned dormitories and feeling an overwhelming presence of the children she had once known. She described hearing whispers calling her name and seeing shadows of her friends playing as they had decades earlier. For Margaret, the experience was not frightening but deeply emotional, a reminder that the past is never entirely gone. Her story echoes the experiences of other visitors who speak not of malevolence but of lingering energy, of the memories of lives that were too young to end and too vital to be forgotten. The architecture of the building itself contributes to the eerie atmosphere. Long, narrow hallways, high ceilings, and creaking wooden floors create a sense of isolation and echo, amplifying ordinary sounds into something that seems supernatural. The combination of abandoned space, historical trauma, and human imagination has cemented St. Agnes in the public consciousness as a place where the past lives on in more than just bricks and mortar. For historians, it is a site of cultural memory. For paranormal enthusiasts, it is a tangible connection to those who came before. Today, St. Agnes Orphanage is the subject of both preservation efforts and exploration. While it is structurally unsafe for large groups, historians and researchers document every remaining artifact, from handwritten letters to faded photographs. Each item helps piece together the lives of the children who once called St. Agnes home. Their stories, combined with the reported paranormal activity, ensure that the orphanage continues to captivate the imagination, reminding us that the echoes of the past are never fully silent. The legacy of St. Agnes is multifaceted. It is a cautionary tale about the vulnerabilities of children in institutional care, a testament to the resilience of young lives under duress, and a site where history and legend intersect. Whether one believes in spirits or not, the orphanage embodies a powerful reminder that human lives leave lasting imprints, not just in records, but in the memory of a place and the stories it holds. Its haunting reputation underscores the reality that every building carries the weight of its history, and some stories are too profound to be forgotten. So if you want to explore more hidden histories, unravel mysterious sites, and discover the stories behind abandoned places and the lives they sheltered, make sure to hit that like button. Leave a comment about what haunted or fascinated you most about St. Agnes, and subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into the forgotten corners of history. Because the Forgotten Orphanage is more than a ghost story. It is a testament to human endurance, memory, and the spirits of children whose stories still linger, waiting to be heard.